I mean, for the listeners at home, I had to get facial reconstruction surgery after getting sucker punched in waiting in line to order food.
Wow.
Is that in my hometown or was that
in your hometown of Halifax?
My hometown.
Wow. You were just waiting in line and somebody just...
In the words of the sole eyewitness, I stepped on his girlfriend's foot and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he went, "Not tonight."
Wow.
I never saw him. I didn't even face him.
Well, you were
me
getting...
out and my friend out.
On behalf of my city, I'm very sorry, man. It's just...
we
got some crazies.
There's a lot of crazies, yeah.
Well, you were getting hit. Is that what you started thinking about your next short? It's like, this could be a new last.
This could be really good. I like the idea that I'm just taking the blow. Like, this could really help my career.
Thanks for jogging my memory.
Yeah.
Hello, people at home.
What's up? Welcome to Standby Podcast episode number. We have no idea.
Yeah, not a clue. Episode number this one. Hello.
But we have a great layover guest.
We do. I mean, I don't know if
layover?
he's going to
Yeah,
lay over
layover.
after this, but yeah, he's on a 8. We got him. He's in LA for 8 hours,
Yes.
and we got him.
Yes.
We got him come from the airport, suitcase and all. Right
Yes,
outside.
this is which is perfect for the podcast. So welcome, Darrin Rose.
Oh, hello, friends, and hello, my actual friends.
Yes, we
buddy.
we actually are friends with Darrin, but also he's also not just friends. He's actually a very successful actor, producer.
I mean, otherwise we wouldn't
director.
let him be our friend.
Yeah. If it wasn't,
Very judgmental.
That's how it works, right?
but he did an amazing short called is it the heist? The
Last Heist.
One last height.
One
last heist.
Oh, one last.
That's a mistake. At every single film festival, they write "one last heist," and I have to email them. I go, "This actually," I repeat the word "last," and they're like, "Why would you do that?" I must I have so many regrets about that name.
Yeah.
And by the way, congratulations on the success at Tribeca as well. That's
Thanks. That was fun. The thing that sucks, I went to Tribeca, which is exciting, and I got nominated for Best Narrative Short, which was fun.
It's awesome.
But it was during COVID, so I couldn't go to Tribeca. And then they showed it again in 2021.
No.
And I couldn't go because my baby was due.
Oh.
And I couldn't, I didn't have enough time to go and then quarantine on the way home.
at least they didn't show it in 2021 and then retract the award.
Yeah.
Well,
Like,
we got audiences now, and
we misjudged this, actually.
yeah, no, that's absolutely
Wait,
awesome.
but so your baby was due, or what? Or like during that time?
Because that was in 2021, and at that time, because it's in New York and I was in Canada, you had to quarantine for 2 weeks. But that 2 weeks overlapped my baby's due date. So I was like, well, if she came early, then I would miss the delivery. And I was like,
got it.
well, that's not really worth it to take a photo in front of the Tribeca logo. I was like,
I mean,
I have a tough time explaining that to her as an adult.
No, I think actually.
you got in the way, hon. You've always gotten in the way.
First of all, I
love you.
don't think it matters because I don't even know if my dad was in the delivery room, and I really don't care. Like
my dad was not. My dad dropped my mother off and then went to the pool hall. He just dropped her off at the front. He didn't even get out of the car. He was just like, "I'll see you."
Oh, wow. What a madman. Right? Did he just have a scotch and a cigar?
Yeah, it was a different time.
Hey, and I expect dinner when you deliver that baby. Huh?
Yeah. She's got to bring a TV dinner with her to the delivery room. Can you guys heat this up for my husband?
I guess the problem would have been your kid would have the proof, the evidence.
Yeah, the actual photos. Like,
That's the
well,
thing.
this is my birthday, Dad. Like my first or initial birthday. I'm like, well,
Yeah.
Dad's got to work.
You're a good luck charm, sweetheart.
Yeah. That's why I've missed all your birthdays since.
Yeah, man. And so, what's the reason why we have you in LA for a
He's
mere
running away
8
from his
hours?
family.
What's the?
I'm here because so I had this gig I was meant to do in Phoenix, corporate, for this big tech company, and I'm doing that. I was an emergency replacement for a guy. You have to fly into the States. You have to pass a COVID test.
Yeah.
So the guy failed his COVID test.
Oh.
Got a positive test. So the day before he's supposed to fly, he realizes he can't do the gig.
Oh, shit.
So then the Speakers Bureau reaches out to me. They're like, urgent, we need somebody. Can you? I was like, sure, I'll do it.
Oh.
So then I fly the next morning, the next day to Phoenix. And while I'm in the air, a discussion was had where they said, because the guy I was replacing had done 20 of these in a row for these people.
Oh, wow.
Does it 2 a year. He's done it for 10 years.
Jeez.
So the event planners hired me to replace him, and then they went to the actual tech company and they go, hey.
They didn't even tell them.
They didn't tell the client.
Oh,
And they go,
shit.
hey, listen, we got this replacement. He's great. The other guy, James Cunningham, who's a great comic, vouched for him. Like, we're all set. And then the client was like, well, if we don't get James Cunningham,
We don't.
we don't want anyone.
Oh,
Right. And so
it's James or hit the rope, Jack.
James or hit the road. And so I
Right.
land in Phoenix. I get a call. They go, hey, listen, it's nothing to do with you. The client said if it's not James, it's no one.
Oh, so you didn't do that?
I didn't do the gig.
Oh,
I still got
wow.
paid.
Oh, nice.
They go, we're going to pay you.
Good.
So, just hang out. You can stay at the resort for all 3 days if you want. There's a water park. And I was
Ah.
like, well, I'm just going to leave.
So they
Yeah.
went with no one?
They went with no one.
Instead.
Wow.
Yeah.
So, okay, so
What if
let's.
It's
so-
supposed to be a slap in the face, but at the same time, you're like, well, I got paid. And I
Yeah,
don't
because
care.
that's the thing.
paid.
As a comic, I'm like, does that? Because it's a corporate, and corporates are usually not like the
Shit.
best.
You can
yeah,
say it. They're usually
not the
shit.
best gigs ever. So it's kind of like, at that point, I'd be like, I don't feel that bad because I'm like, I don't care.
They
You know
were
what I mean?
so apologetic. They're like, oh, my God, we feel so bad. I'm like, this is my best case scenario.
Yeah.
I just show up and do nothing. The worst part of working is working.
yeah.
Thank God I got out of that part. I just got the part I like, which is the paycheck.
But so you were
I'm like, I wish I could engineer that for everything.
I mean, you did have to get on a flight.
I had to get on a flight, yeah.
But you were supposed to do 3 days.
A 3-day gig.
Oh, it was every day was a
Yeah,
gig?
yeah, 'cause it was like hosting a conference, and then it was like an award show at the end. So it's like a big.
So who they
affair.
got to
well, they
to
didn't get
replace?
anybody. They said it
There's
was that
nobody.
guy or
They're just
nobody,
doing it,
so-
voice of God from the back of the room. And your next speaker is the
wow.
senior vice president of global marketing.
Oh wow!
You, did you cash the check yet?
Well, no, I mean it's a wire transfer. You know?
Well, the check is made to Jack Cunningham.
Yeah,
Ah, man.
Wow, that's
yeah, it worked out great. I was like,
that's kind of
That's
fun.
great.
yeah. So then I was like, well, if I'm leaving anyway, I was like, well, I'll just because Phoenix is like 45-minute flight from here.
Yeah.
So it's like, well, I'll just have a long stopover in LA, and I'll take the red eye from LA tonight. And that way I can just stop by and see
So
my
they
friends and
switch
hang
your
out.
flight to get back the day.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. Yeah.
Pretty good.
Wow,
It's a tech company. They got tons of money.
Yeah. Of
So
course.
they don't
Yeah.
care.
And
Yeah, but I mean, if the fact that they go like, yeah, we want that person or nobody, that shows you that they got money, and they're like, we'll still pay you, but we're not gonna have you.
It's pretty wild.
Yeah, but it is wild because I've never heard of the you don't have to do anything.
Yeah,
situation,
'cause usually-
unless they lose track of you, like because
This is the second time I've been like a corporate paid me and then I didn't have to do it.
So
Oh,
you've been
really?
canceled twice,
I've been canceled twice.
but for real.
But for real,
Like, not
and
in the
it's
internet.
the best. I recommend it highly.
I had one before where they thought I had been on,
Hilarious.
which was crazy. Yeah, I
They didn't
was,
realize you didn't do
I was
it.
yeah, it was for like a bunch of it was like a warehouse in
Yeah.
Birmingham, and I was there, and it was just went from like 5 p.m. to like 11, and it was 10 p.m. and I still hadn't been on yet. But I was just hanging out waiting, and then they just started saying, "You were awesome, man," and I just started going,
Hilarious.
"Okay," and then about 20 minutes later, I was on the train going home.
That's
All right,
great.
with the check in my pocket.
See,
I was
that's
like,
the best
"All
case
right, yeah."
scenario, right?
They were a
Yeah.
mess. They were
Yeah,
all
for
just drunk.
corporates, I'd be like, yeah, like that's like you don't. I feel like if it's something like an actual gig at a club, that's to me that's a little more like, well, no, but don't you, right?
Yeah. It's
Like
Oh,
I
yeah.
would be like, oh, I want to, especially also like it's kind of weird. Well, it doesn't even make sense the analogy because it's like if it's somebody that was in the gig they just don't replace. Like
yeah, but
they
still, like a club show, you want to do the show. But
Yeah,
a
yeah,
corporate, you're like, you're only doing it in the first place for the check.
yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Because the work is not as rewarding as
Yeah,
doing, like,
yeah,
a
yeah.
proper show.
Club shows more pride and also future work. You know, it's
Yeah,
doing
and
the
it's
things
fun.
that
It's
you
like,
do.
why are you doing it in the first
Yeah,
place?
yeah,
Like,
of
I didn't
course.
get into this so I could introduce the senior vice president of global marketing
That's true.
in a way that's sort of light and fun.
So did you ask?
And announce the raffle winner.
Yeah.
Did they tell you why they didn't want you?
Yeah, so what had happened
Oh,
was this guy had done, James Cunningham had done 20 of these gigs. But
Oh, it's James.
5
I was saying Jack.
Oh,
sorry.
no, that's all right. But
he doesn't
5
mind.
years ago, he couldn't make it to one of them, so they hired some other guy. And he was so bad, they fired him during the conference.
Oh.
And then they called James. They go, "Can you just video introduce everybody, like on FaceTime?" And they just projected them on the screens. Yeah, it's one of those corporates where it's like, you know, there's hundreds of people there. They got all the big.
They love
screens and
James.
stuff. They love James. So this guy bombed so bad that
Wow.
the client
Was, like, traumatized.
Was like, "No, we can't go through that again." It was awful.
Oh wow.
And I was like,
Wow.
But if it's just introducing, how are you bombing? Like, how did that guy bomb?
They
you-
told me he was like a magician / comedian, and he opened with a bit about like try and put your hands together. Everybody do this. Everybody try and put your hands together. Just put them together. And he goes, "You see it? You feel it getting harder. You feel it's getting difficult. You can't." And he just does this thing, and he goes, "You see how they won't actually touch?" And everyone was like, "What's the?
What
no, my
happened?
hands do
Yeah.
touch." So it's like his whole thing was like a magic trick that didn't work.
Oh. Wait,
that's-
so they fired? Okay, sorry.
So then they were just, and then he got, he refused to get the grid with all the information on it. They're like, "Can we, write down the name of the person you're going to introduce?" He goes, "I got it up here." And then he would go backstage, like, well, the speaker's on, he's got to introduce the next person, and he would go like this. And he would like, "I'm memorizing the next speaker."
Oh
and they
my
go up, and he
God.
got every single person's name wrong.
Oh my God.
And they're like, "You're only doing one thing."
wow, that's hilarious.
And he's ruined it for future generations.
Yeah.
Nobody but this Cunningham guy.
James Cunningham is the world's greatest corporate comedian.
but
How
he's-
disappointed they must be if they do go to comedy clubs and they don't see Cunningham's name on the bill. Like, oh, well,
They're
these guys are all
furious.
gonna suck.
Yeah.
But it was funny. Like, I would love that. Like, that magic trick was so funny because I thought you were gonna do this. I was like, all right, everybody, just look at my hands. All right, now here we're gonna touch. We're almost gonna touch. Everybody, you're almost touching. Fuck you, motherfucker! I thought that was gonna happen or something like that, or like, hey, that's my dick or something.
He
That
had
would-
nothing. Like, I think he started and he goes,
Like,
"I bet I'll
he-
think of something."
I'll think of something by the time my hands get to here. I'll know what to do. Nope, don't know what to
He
do.
had nothing. And so like, well, we can't
But you
have
should-
that
but then
again.
you
I'm like,
tell-
I don't even do magic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. You tell them like, I can read.
Yeah.
I'll read this thing. I don't need to do anything.
Yeah, and then I went. So I get
That's-
to the hotel, and
hilarious.
it's at this like big resort, and so the event planners like take me out for a drink and kind of
Yeah.
go like, "Hey, we're so sorry." I'm like, "This is really fine."
Yeah.
And then everybody like I was told when I left, I was like this morning I was changing my flight. And I was like, "Hey, before I get them to change the flight, like, are you sure you're not going to use me before I leave this
Yeah.
3-day conference on the first day?"
Yeah.
And they're like, yeah, you were great, man. Everyone thought you were so funny last night. Like in the bar, like everyone's
You
coming
just
over and stuff.
chatting and spritzing.
Yeah,
Oh, you were in the bar like doing.
Yeah, with like the company bigwigs, and they were like, "Yeah, everybody liked you." Anyway, see ya.
Oh my God, this is wild.
So wild, but I was like, "This is great. I get to go home early. I get to
Yeah.
come here,
Yeah.
see my friends, and I got paid the same I was going to get paid anyway." So,
Wow.
Yeah.
This is
So,
wild.
so you still did a little show at the bar then?
I did a little show at the bar.
Yeah,
I did a
yeah,
little,
yeah,
you know,
yeah.
I was doing some bits.
Yeah,
I was like,
you were-
Was it-
yeah,
was it-
yeah.
Were you still in a moment where you thought maybe you were fighting for your job?
No, not
You
at
know,
all.
when you
It
were
was
spritzing,
all.
you
It was
already
just like,
knew. You
it was
already knew.
already
You already
like
had
you're
the
getting paid no
check,
matter
doesn't
what.
matter.
Right?
You know, and it's not like a dodgy company where like, "Yeah, we'll pay you," and they don't send the
No,
money.
it's a
like,
good company.
Yeah, like they sent a deposit to the speakers bureau like 3 months ago. Like they've
Yeah.
already got the money.
Well, if they're saying we don't need you, that's probably like a legitimate company because they got more
Yeah.
money. Where like,
Yeah, like these events are like enormous events.
Yeah,
they spent
yeah,
like
yeah.
$500,000, $700,000 on the event.
of course,
Like
of
they
course.
don't care.
They don't
about
care. It's just
Yeah.
that's petty cash. You're petty cash.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
For me, I'm like, well, this is really good money. For them, I'm like, this is a
For
garbage
them,
amount.
it's like, yeah, it's petty cash for them.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And the last time we saw each other, Francisco, you like this, was when I was on, what did I have? 6 hours. I had a
Yeah.
6-hour layover in Toronto.
No.
I was coming back from the UK, and 6-hour layover, and he came and grabbed me at the airport, and we went and got shit-faced.
Like wildly out of
And then
control.
Really?
And then he dropped, just whiskey. that bill for we must have had 20 whiskey sours.
It was a lot.
Wow.
And then dropped me off back at the airport. It was
No, I didn't drive him. He took it over.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's right. Well,
I'm not an animal.
I wound up back at the airport somehow, and so that was a crazy stopover.
And you sent me a video of like a child's toy that if the floor, like if you jostle it, it talks.
Yeah.
And you're so drunk, and it's a video of the thing talking, and you're just like, this thing is haunting me.
That's right, because I had to be back at the airport at like 3:30 a.m. or something, 4 a.m., and we got back to your place at 2 a.m. And you were like, just chill out here, and I was like, if I fall asleep, if I pass out now,
you won't
I'm gonna make this flight. And luckily, his baby's got that toy sitting in the corner, and it kept me awake.
Yeah,
I was.
Let's go.
I got to I got to the airport good and early.
Wait, so you got scared because of a little kid's toy?
You're not. This thing. You got to trust me. It's.
Well, you're also. Shit face. So like,
we couldn't see. Like we were legally blind.
Drunk with these crazy like eyes looking at me in the corner out of nowhere every now and then. I'm like, I gotta. It's been a fun night. Remember we got screamed at in a doorway? Do you recall that? That was. This will come back to you while I'm explaining it to you. So we went bar hopping. We had about 20 drinks, and then it's pounding rain all night as well. We were soaking wet, that great Toronto weather. And at one point we were in a doorway out of the rain on the main street. And down the stairs comes this guy with like a baseball bat, and he swings open the door, and he's like, what the fuck is your problem? Do you remember now?
Yeah. Wow.
Is it coming back to you?
And that guy, you know who that guy was? James Cunningham. I'm trying to rest because tomorrow I gotta leave for a corporate for 3 days, motherfucker.
That's our strategy.
Just hang around in front of his house. Just hope he just casts off a gig in my direction. Thank you, James. Thank you so much.
That was psychotic, wasn't it? That guy was so intense. Luckily, we were good and Canadian about. We were like, oh, sorry, we didn't.
But wasn't he Canadian too?
He was Canadian too, but he was
Canadian but furious. But also he realized that we were not the thing he was mad at.
Yeah,
he comes down. He's like, "What the fuck is that?" And then we're like, "Oh, sorry." But he could tell from our demeanor that we weren't the guy.
We were just hiding out of the rain. We weren't like trying to break in or anything. Or whatever he thought.
And so he was very quickly like, "Oh, hey, sorry, fellas, I didn't mean to be crazy." Like this, apology off, and then he just put his bat on his shoulder and walked back up the stairs.
But he had a bat.
But he had a bat, and it was cocked, and he was when he swung the door open, he was fucking.
What
psycho.
is it with
it went from psycho. What did you call it? We had an apology off.
Yeah.
That's what we did. So he went from psycho to then the three of us are, oh yeah, okay.
Just sheepish, like, oh boy, we've really gotten into it, hey fellas.
What is it with you that you always attract people to hit you randomly?
I don't know what it is, but
it's like, what is this? It's like, because you're like the nicest guy I met, and like, but you always get in beat up randomly.
Well, I mean, for the listeners at home, I had to get facial reconstruction surgery after getting sucker punched in waiting in line to order food.
Wow.
Is that in my hometown or was that
in your hometown of Halifax?
My hometown.
Wow. You were just waiting in line and somebody just...
In the words of the sole eyewitness, I stepped on his girlfriend's foot and I said, "Oh, I'm sorry." And he went, "Not tonight."
Wow.
I never saw him. I didn't even face him.
Well, you were
me
getting...
out and my friend out.
On behalf of my city, I'm very sorry, man. That's just...
we
got some crazies.
There's a lot of crazies, yeah.
Well, you were getting hit. Is that why you started thinking about your next short? It's like, this could be a new last.
This could be really good.
High.
I like the idea that I'm just taking the blow. Like, this could really help my
Thanks for jogging my memory.
Yeah.
Wow, that's so like so you're from Toronto originally, right?
Yeah.
And you started doing comedy in Toronto, or
yeah.
So you started
at Yuck Yucks, which is like a big Canadian chain of comedy clubs.
Okay.
Yeah.
Did you always wanted to do stand up, or is that a thing then?
No, I saw. You guys know the of course you do, the Seinfeld documentary Comedian.
Yeah, with Orny Adams.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I saw that in the theater, And I came out and I said
In
to
the
my buddy,
theater?
yeah,
Wow.
I said to my buddy, I'm like, I'm going to try stand-up comedy.
Oh, wow.
I never knew how it worked. I just thought, everyone's just being like, they're coming up with this stuff in the moment. I didn't
Yeah.
realize they're writing it down and testing it out and failing. And I was like, well, I could do that.
Wow. So what made you, of that movie, make you go like, was it Orny or Seinfeld?
Seinfeld.
Okay.
No, it's not the Orny. I know Orny. I know Orny fairly well now. We've worked together a bunch. We did we did like a 30-day tour together. We did a week's worth of shows in Cancun together. Like, I know Orny pretty well.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, you want to be like the billionaire guy.
Yeah, of course.
That's not a slight to Orny at all. It's like, even Orny is like, well, I'd still rather have Seinfeld money.
Of course. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a no-brainer.
Oh, that's cool. So you were like, and how old were you? Sorry,
That's right.
I was like 20. I don't remember. But I started in 2002, so I started 20 years ago.
Wow.
But I was like, I'd already had like a adult career.
Like you had. So what were you doing before?
I had a software company, and I had like a dozen employees. We raised.
You had a company?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And I had two partners. One guy had his previous job was at Microsoft, and the other guy was a professor at Cornell.
Wow.
We started the company together. We had like 12 employees, raised $1.8 million. It was like a real
legit.
functioning
Wow.
company.
Jeez.
And
What would you? Why?
I didn't know any. I didn't know any of that.
Me neither. I was like, I thought it was like. Usually, I was like, well, I was a administrative assistant at this.
I was a
finance
bartender.
firm. Yeah, you're like. I was working with Elon Musk and Jeff Bezos.
Yeah, did you sell the company, or does it still exist?
No, it
still...
does not. No.
Okay.
Eventually, we just lost all $1.8 million. So it's not really a success story, but it was fun to do.
That's good training for being a comedian. I just hemorrhaged money everywhere.
Yeah.
And off we go.
As that was tanking, and like you're firing people, like we got to lay people off because we're running out of money, and like you're taking away people's livelihoods. It's a very sad thing. But I was like, what am I going to do next? I was trying to figure it out. And a buddy of mine had a TV show, and I thought, well, I'll get one of those. And I did not know that was hard.
Wow.
Or that so many people were trying. And
so wait, like, how is it that how were you raised that you just see stuff and you go like, yeah, I'm gonna do that? Like, is that your like?
My dad is an entrepreneur.
Oh,
my dad owned a typesetting company, which doesn't even exist.
What's
as
typesetting?
an industry? So typesetting, it used to be before computers. You'd have a manuscript, like a typed manuscript of a book, and then a typesetter would decide like where the words go on the page and where the page number is and where the margins are and stuff. And they lay it out with metal letters, like hot. It's called hot metal. So each letter is assembled by hand, every single letter in the whole book.
Oh, wow.
And then you make a plate out of it, and then that plate is what you put ink on, and then you print. And then it became computers, and you would do it on computers when the computers were like the size of this table.
Yeah.
And then eventually with desktop publishing, it's just like, it stopped being a step.
Yeah.
It's just like the printer just does it.
Yeah.
But you used to have to like lay it out. Here's where the words are. And so like when I was a little kid, there would be like in a shop, there's like a rack like the size of this wall, and it's just filled with different sizes and fonts and italics and everything.
Wow.
You just pick off the individual letters and assemble a book.
Oh, wow.
Letter by letter. So my dad did that. So my dad was an entrepreneur.
Yeah.
My uncle's an entrepreneur. He also owns a plastics company. My cousin owns a
it's in the
telecom
family.
company.
Oh,
Wow. And
Yeah.
so it just kind of teaches you to reverse engineer things when you see them happening, and you go,
I guess.
all right,
And I guess, it's more like, oh yeah, I'm gonna do that. Like I think he just sees something in a magazine. And is like, yeah, I'll become a doctor. That's pretty easy. Like,
Yeah,
that's
you
kinda
just
like,
go, well, somebody does these things. I know the kind of people who just go and do things.
which is very great because I'm like the opposite. I grew up in a family where it's like, I was like, yeah, because it's like, no, you cannot do that. Like that was like,
right.
It's like I could. No, you're too small to
Right.
do that.
Like,
no,
you
no,
can
you
do-
can't. No, you can't. Do
You
that.
can do six
So-
things, Francisco.
Right.
like that. It was the opposite of.
How
like,
does your family feel about you doing comedy?
They were like, yeah, kind of like. I mean, I think that was the only sign where they went like, okay, like that.
Oh, really?
Like it wasn't
that's
like
good.
so that in my family world that was like being like, go get him, cowboy,
Right.
Like it wasn't like because usually it's always like, no, what are you doing? You can't do that. Don't
Right.
do that.
Because they weren't specifically discouraging you. It
Yes.
felt like encouragement.
Like encouragement.
Yeah.
That like, okay, fine, you can go. And I was like, all right, that's awesome. You know,
Right,
So,
yeah.
which is, you know, for you, it's like,
And
you can do everything.
and I'd say I'm somewhere in the middle of you two because although I know I can do stand-up comedy, there's still elements of the business that I'm learning all the time. I never really I used to just think, oh, you just get on stage and tell jokes and you go from city to city and that's going to be great.
And somebody picks the funniest guy every year and gives them a TV show and a movie, right?
Yeah, and then you
or
start
funniest
to learn,
person, I should say.
Yeah.
Yeah, then you start to learn as you get into it, all the other aspects of it. Like I wish I'd have gone to business school so I could understand some things, even though
Right.
I'm in the arts.
Yeah.
But there is such a business element
Show
to what we
business.
do. Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
I always think
part.
this is what helps me sleep at night is that you have to be funny enough to like be in the game. And once you're in the game, you know, you're working at the store, you're in the pool of people
Yeah.
that they're choosing the people who make it. out
Yes,
of.
exactly.
But you can't control there's nothing you can do
No.
to control the like the
The-
the
the
little
hand.
arm and the toy
grabby
machine.
arm
yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
Like, I got picked, everybody.
Yeah, you can't. You know, you look around like, oh, they picked Kevin Hart. That's great.
Yeah,
I used to
yeah.
work with Kevin Hart.
Yeah.
Kevin Hart and I used to have the same agent before Kevin Hart was famous.
Wow.
Me and Kevin Hart and Amy Schumer. We all three of us. were
Oh,
the same
wow.
person. And then
Jeez.
it got to the point where
You guys toured together and shit?
I opened for Amy once.
Okay.
I never worked with Kevin Hart. Well, I did his TV show, so I met him. But it got to the point where my agent, Kevin Hart, got so big.
Yeah.
It's not that he wouldn't return like my calls. He didn't have
But
time.
he's like, you got your
he's like,
golden goose, man.
yeah, it wasn't like Kevin Hart's calling. Like if Kevin Hart's gardener called, he was like, I gotta
Yeah,
call.
yeah,
You know,
yeah, yeah,
he's
yeah.
gonna take the
Of
call from the
course.
gardener.
Yeah.
He goes, we gotta. Yeah, he's like he's
Yeah.
the biggest guy in show
I
business.
think that happens with a lot of agents, doesn't it? They end up like when
Yeah.
if one of their clients
Well, I
really
think-
hits smoking hot, they have to focus so much.
Yeah, I
more
mean,
time
that's their
on it.
money. That's what are they going to do, man?
Yeah, because they
It's
don't know.
understandable in a way. I mean, what are you going to do? It's like-
Yeah, all they do is they make as many good guesses as they can. They got their roster of 80
It's
people.
stocks. It's like, well,
Yeah.
I'm buying, I'm investing in all these stocks, and hopefully this one becomes Microsoft.
Right, they
Or
diversify, and
Tesla,
then,
you
yeah,
know.
and a lot of them become XYZ computers that bounce.
Of
It's
course,
but
yeah,
at least
yeah.
we had Microsoft.
Yeah.
And you can't control getting picked.
So then, you're gonna buy more Microsoft or spend more
you
time.
gotta,
you gotta
we gotta
invest
take all
more.
the money
Yeah,
and put
yeah,
it in Microsoft.
Yeah, yeah.
You can't keep betting on XYZ computer. You know, I think they got a really good idea for a computer that's better than Microsoft. You're like, no way.
Yeah.
You gotta go with the winning ticket.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, man.
you know that helps me sleep at night. That you could just do all the work. You know, you pitch the shows and you come up with the ideas.
But
and
it's
you-
so much about the. Another analogy that I use is like the industry is kind of like a country club, you
Right.
know, and but right now, like we're still not even in the country club. We sometimes we go into the country club, we get invited, we're there as a guest, whatever.
Right.
But when you actually do make it is when you become a member of the
Right.
country club, because then when you're the member, then all the people in the country club, who are they when they're looking for an opportunity for a business or a show idea, whatever? Oh yeah, now if you're a member, like, oh yeah, Darrin fits this part. Boom, that's
Totally.
it. But- So it's like, and then, but if you're not, so and if you're lucky to be, it's like if you're a guest in the country club and then somebody there saw you and they're like, but
Totally.
but you have to be in the country club as a member, and that's like mean to me, like when you actually like in it, you know,
Right.
that's what I mean.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
think your analogy is like we're still kind of like outside and hopefully getting picked to that country.
Right,
club,
getting
you know?
picked into the country club. Yeah, we're in the parking lot.
Yeah.
But then a lot of people don't get to the parking lot.
Yeah, no, some
We're
people
at
don't
the
even get to the
tailgate
park.
party.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like
Most people who are doing it don't get to the parking
that's
lot.
what I'm saying. Doesn't mean like we see this stuff.
Yeah.
Like we see like there's the fucking
Right, the gate.
the gates. We're like, oh, and then you see the gate close. It's like, ah, shit.
It's a great metaphor for me because I generally have been too busy doing whippets at the tailgate party just
Right.
outside of where the proper party is.
It's like Jeff McHenry, a super funny comic, who the Hollywood Reporter just wrote about. He's on a show Letterkenny that's on Hulu, and they do a live show, and like Brad Pitt and Ed Norton went to it when it was in L.A. and the Hollywood Reporter wrote about it and said Jeff was the best comic on the show, and there's lots of like great comics on it. It's a popular TV show, but he has a great joke about losing his virginity, and he's like, well, I mean, you're in the ballpark, right? And he goes, the ballpark? I'm still driving around looking for a diamond. It's like, how far? Lots of people still driving around looking for a diamond. It's like,
yeah.
That's funny because I remember when he was here. He was in L.A.
Yeah.
when I first showed up. We showed up in L.A. at the same time.
Right, yeah.
I believe, and I remember him going, I'm going to go back to Canada.
L.A. is everything that Jeff McHenry is opposed to.
Yeah.
I philosophically, socially, morally, like he's just
really?
He's like, this is the worst place on earth.
Doesn't work for him.
Yeah. Well, it's worked out for him then.
So,
he's done
back
great.
to
He's done great.
So speaking of LA, because you lived, I mean, that's how I met you here in LA. I mean, did you, was that your first move? Like in terms of comedy to get better in comedy or in the, to move to LA?
So I had...
or was it New York or?
No, I went... The first thing I did was... I used to go to England a lot, which is how I know JJ.
Yeah, I really wanted to tell you about this too because we first met... Darrin was on my couch in my apartment. I didn't know him yet. I actually didn't know him yet until he was in my home on my couch. I mean, this is...
Wait, how did you end up there?
But I mean, he could explain.
Well, they were... JJ was roommates with comic Jason Rouse. You probably know Rouse.
Oh, yeah. His...
All right, that's the way everybody reacts. Rouse. Hey, Rouse, buddy.
Rouse is the best. He's just such a weird... Like, if you see his act, you're like, this guy is an awful human being.
Yeah.
And then you meet him in person, you're like, this guy's the nicest guy on earth.
I could tell that he's nice. Yeah.
He does terrify people.
For sure.
Well, that's why I think he gets up on that.
Yeah,
that's his thing. He gets up on like being like crazy, edgy, and dirty and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But I think he's like you said,
he's
a
really
nice
like
guy.
a thoughtful, kind-hearted person.
Yeah.
And,
he was actually. I'll just say this quickly, but he was in Europe once, and Jim Jeffries' dad needed a place to stay in the UK. Jim was, I think, in LA or something. So I took in Jim Jeffries' dad, and he's at my place where I'm living with Jason Rouse.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Rouse was coming back in the middle of the night, but I got up and Jim's dad was lying outside my door like a dog. Because Jim's dad is pretty working class and can rough it and everything. But I was like, what the fuck happened? He goes, some crazy psycho skinhead kicked me out of bed in the middle of the night. And I went and looked in the room and I'm like, Rouse is back. He didn't tell me he was coming back or anything. So this poor old man just got woke up in the middle of the night by the death metal comedian with his silver teeth in it.
Yeah.
Like, get the fuck out of my bed, old man.
Right. And to be fair, also, if you're Rouse and you show up, you're like, why is there someone sleeping in my bed?
Yeah, that is true. Yeah, it's like, who the fuck are you?
Yeah, who is this like old man who's like, JJ's friend?
That's not the case because I told him because he's in Sweden and I said, hey, Jim Jeffries' dad needs a place. And so I had run it past him and everything, and then he just fucking showed up out of no. I was like, dude, you're supposed to be in Sweden.
Yeah.
He just scared the shit out of
That's so funny. So Rouse like sort of takes in stragglers. So I was going over there trying to make it in England. And I would go, sometimes I'd go for like 2 weeks at a time or 2 months.
Why England, by the way?
Well, because I was in Toronto and the club, I was working with a chain of clubs, and they were like, oh, we'll send you out west, but you won't make any money. You'll just break even. And I was like, well, if I'm not going to make any money, I'll go to England where I can make money.
Got it.
I'll try and establish myself over there. And comedy was blowing up in England at the time.
Oh, really?
It was like there was so much work that I could just show up as a foreigner.
And they just give you...
And get work, and I'm, they're flying me around, and like I got in like with good off the curb, and they'll give me like good gigs, and
even mid-level gigs pay as much as probably top-tier gigs in America.
Yeah,
So that's crazy.
Like I remember once I worked the Stand in Edinburgh. And I was just for a week, and I was writing on a TV show. And so I flew out there on Thursday night, and I just did the Friday, Saturday. And I got paid enough. I made more than I would make doing comedy in Canada.
Wow.
Including I paid the flight from Toronto to London.
Wow.
They only paid my travel from London to Edinburgh.
Wow.
This is like an $800 flight, and I still made more than I would have made doing comedy in my backyard. So there was just lots of money and lots of opportunity. And so I went, and so Rouse would take in stragglers, and I was, I'm there, like, I'm staying in hostels and stuff, because I'm at that point doing, like, open mics.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And he's like, oh, don't spend your money, oof, just sleep on my couch. And so I'm just sleeping on the couch, but JJ doesn't know. Like, he just wouldn't tell JJ.
He didn't tell me about this one. And then I got to say, and I've told you this before.
Well, how'd you met Rouse?
Oh, I knew Rouse from Toronto.
Yeah.
Oh, got it.
He's
Yeah.
originally a Toronto
Got it.
comic. I've told you this
But also
before,
only a
but,
little bit. I didn't know him well enough to stay at his house.
Yeah.
Like,
Oh,
at
really?
all.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
He was just being kind-hearted to a kid. He was like, I'll help you out.
Yeah, I had to learn not to leave things in my living room, not because of Darrin, but because I never knew who would wind up in our living. I mean, it's nice to have an adventurous apartment,
Sure.
in a way, but I don't want to. I want to be able to leave my laptop on the coffee table and not come because often there's just three dudes who look dodgy as fuck who
Well,
wind
yeah.
up in your living room. I'm like, what
Fuck
the hell
that.
is this? Like, Jason just told us to come in. I'm like, oh shit, I'm taking away my laptop
Yeah,
and
yeah.
stuff, taking
Yeah,
it
yeah.
into my
Like
room,
that.
going, oh, I didn't know that was gonna
Well,
happen.
I've even, I remember, come back to your and Rouse's place and come in, and there's so many people sleeping in the living room. I've slept where Jim Jeffries' dad slept, in the hall.
Oh, man.
And for the whole night, I just slept there, woke up in the morning, and I was like, all right, I think I got to get home. No, I can't.
Yeah. So now, and what I was going to say though, and I've told you this before, is of all the guests that have randomly wound up in my apartment in North London, you were the best. You were a nice,
Wow.
kind person, because there was a lot of like wild, crazy people that I was like, and then sometimes Rouse would leave town or whatever, and I'm like, I'm in town for 2 days. I don't want to have to deal with
Yeah.
100%, yeah. And so then we knew each other through that, and then I moved here, and my now wife,
From
but
England?
I was still in Toronto, and I was just going there. But so I moved to LA, and with my now wife, we're sitting at the Hudson on La Cienega, and or wherever it is, and I just saw JJ walk by, and I was like, "What are you doing here?"
Yeah, I had just moved here.
Oh, wow.
I
Yeah.
was taking acting at Strasbourg. I went to
Oh, wow.
I enrolled at the Strasbourg Institute.
Wow.
I was taking method acting and,
Yeah.
and trying to do the full LA thing, but I'd only been here for like 2 weeks.
Right,
And
crazy.
Wow.
And I walked past, he's having dinner. I'm like, couch guy.
Yeah, and I was like, "Oh, come have a drink with us."
That's cool.
So it's crazy. Yeah.
And we've had the most like it's been a great
Random,
friendship.
yeah.
It's an old friendship now. I mean, we've been
Yeah.
friends for 15 years,
Yeah,
I'd
yeah.
say, at least. But it's full of all these random meetings. Otherwise, because I wasn't a Toronto comic and I never came up in Toronto.
Yeah.
Otherwise, our only connection would have been that we are Canadian, and that would have been the
Yeah,
biggest. But that in no way would have made us collide.
Yeah,
in the
yeah, it was
industry.
just fortuitous. So to answer your question, this was to move to LA was my first big move, but I'd spent a lot of time going to England. I was going to England regularly for years.
Got it.
But then when I came here, I just
Like you
moved here.
moved. Yeah.
Yeah, so that was a much bigger
Got it. Yeah.
undertaking, and you got to get a visa and stuff.
Yeah.
If you're Canadian, it's easy to go to England.
And also, you
Get
were
to
just
America, it's
doing
like-
shows, but like you weren't like actually moving to London.
Yeah, I wasn't moving there, but
Yeah.
to come work in America, it's like, oh, you got to get a visa. That's 10
Yeah,
grand.
yeah.
Like I move my furniture. It's like oh, it's such an undertaking.
Yeah.
And then my girlfriend at the time was now my wife couldn't work.
Yeah.
So then she's like, well, what am I gonna do?
Yeah.
But it was so then I came here and
Yeah. 'Cause
futzed around here for years.
Yeah.
It was still worth it. The time you
great.
spent here, and has it been worth it moving back to Toronto? Have you found
Well, yeah. So I went back at the beginning of the pandemic, thinking
Right.
I was going to be back here in like 2 or 3 weeks.
You did.
and I was incorrect.
yeah.
So I went back, I think, on March 10th, and then the world shut down on like March 16th, 2020.
Yeah.
And I came back here in December 2020 to like sell my car.
Yeah.
right?
And it hadn't been started in like 7 months.
Wow.
And it didn't start, and
Of course.
like it was just like such a headache to try and sell a car that doesn't start.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it was a weird thing, but it was great, and because everything was over Zoom, I had a little success with the Heist short, and then we sold the TV and movie rights to Sony.
It's called One Last Heist.
Oh, yeah,
by
thank
the
you.
way,
Thank
not
you
just
for
the Heist
remembering.
short.
It was very funny, even on the Sony paperwork, they kept calling it the Heist, and I was like, well, this is legal paperwork. You had to put the right title,
yeah.
guys. Like,
Especially there's a movie called
it's
The Heist.
the worst title in the history. Like nobody along the whole line has ever just written the title correctly. But I sold the rights to Sony. But because it was COVID, all the pitches were in
Zoom.
On Zoom anyway.
Yeah.
Even once I was in LA, and then I had to do the pitch on Zoom with Showtime from my hotel room.
Oh.
I'm like, I can see the Showtime bill.
Yeah.
I could just come over there. So it worked out fine. And even like I'm pitching next week to Seth MacFarlane's company, still over Zoom.
Oh.
So it matters way less being in town.
Yeah.
When I started
change.
Yeah, when I came here, I started coming here in 2012, and everyone, like agents, managers,
You have to be here. You have to
casting
move
people,
here.
they're like, you have to be here.
Yeah.
Then I came here and I was like, I'm not sure that's true, but
And now for
now
sure
it's
you don't,
not
true at all.
sure.
Yeah, you
Yeah.
don't really need to be here or anywhere. You know,
Yeah, they
like
say
it's
that
like,
about a lot of the comedy festivals around the world too. Like everybody's like, if you're gonna be discovered, you gotta be there. But everybody's watching videos.
Well, I think
Right.
the whole, the pandemic changed everything in terms
It really
of that.
changed
Like
everything.
it really, because it really forced people to be like, now self-tapes, now meetings through Zoom, now pitches through Zoom. So it's
Totally.
kind of like, and it's because now it's, the technology is much better as well. So it's easier
Yeah.
to do it, but also like you spend less money, and that's what it matters. at
Yeah,
the end of
yeah,
the
it's
day,
way better.
to do all this, to have a meeting and whatever, like you do it through Zoom.
I've flown here for auditions like once I flew here for an audition because I was in Toronto, and I got this audition, and they called me at like 4 p.m. or something. It's after the last flight of the day, Toronto to LA, and it's at like 10 o'clock in the morning. But the first flight of the day lands at 10:30, and they go, if you can't be there at 10, we got to push you to the next round. Like if they don't find someone.
Yeah.
And I was like, here's what I'll do. I'm going to drive to Detroit from Toronto overnight, and then take the 6 a.m. flight from Detroit, which lands here at 9 or whatever it was, 9:30, and I have enough time to get to the
audition.
studio to do the audition.
Wow.
I did stuff like that, and I didn't get the job.
Yeah, I did.
Drove for 6 hours, flew for 5
I know,
hours,
I
ready to
know.
go there, and they're like, nah, you're not right.
And what's funny is like this that was just to audition to do a corporate gig.
yeah.
Which is very like
You got to do the work, though.
Yeah, no
But
check.
it's funny you said about like comedy festivals and stuff. Everyone said you in comedy festivals. That's the reason I moved to LA is because somebody saw me at a comedy festival, which is like that story you hope for.
Yeah.
So it's like I still think it's valid, but certainly there's so many more paths now. That was 10 years ago.
And also because now
Yeah.
you can do the meeting or the whatever audition, and then if they want you, then you can just come here. You know what I
Yeah,
mean? So it's
yeah.
kind of like it's not that big of a
Yeah, and they
deal.
want to see, are you on TikTok? You're on YouTube? Like, there's different ways to get attention now. It used to be comedy festivals were the only way to get
Yes,
attention.
exactly.
Yeah.
And now it's just not true.
Now it's not
Yeah.
true. Now it's like you said, all the social media. That's what matters mostly.
Yeah,
Now,
yeah.
Then everything.
Yeah, you got to create a thing and then try and
and then
sell it either as an idea or as yourself is manifest in the thing. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, man. We saw your suitcase out there. When you hit the road, are you a light packer? I mean, I know it's only 3 days worth, but if you're on the road for like a week, are you just a carry-on only kind of guy, or do you have a lot with you?
I'm carry-on only everywhere.
Really?
Right.
Even if it's like a month?
A month carry-on only.
Really?
Yeah, well,
How do you do that?
I learned that because
That's what I
nuts.
do too, man.
No, that's
what I do.
nuts.
It's so
my
simple. It's just
my sort of first
life simple.
break in comedy was opening for Jeremy Hotz. You guys know Jeremy?
Yeah.
So he was doing this big tour where he plays like really big houses, like 2,500 seats. He was doing this tour, and Just for Laughs was producing it, and so he picked me out. They sent him a bunch of people, and he picked me. And I went on tour with him, so I had to do one show. And then he was like, "Okay, I like this guy." And then I did the 30 shows.
Nice.
And so it's like 30 shows in 30 days. And they were like, "Here's the rule: you cannot check a bag." I was like, "Oh, okay." And then I opened for John Panette, who my Uber driver was talking to me about. He goes, "Oh, this guy John Panette." I'm like, I know John Panette very well. And the same rule on that tour: you cannot check a bag.
Wow. Okay,
And I
that's
did
ours
2
too,
tours with
yeah.
John.
Wow.
And
But why?
because they don't want to wait at the airport.
But whose rule was that day? JFL or the comic?
The comic, or it might have been the tour manager, but it's probably the comic. Tells
Yeah,
the
it
tour
So
would
manager.
do
be
they
Panette
sell?
and it would be
So in
Hotz
terms of
going-
comedy, like, don't they sell merch?
No, these guys are making $125,000 a night.
And
That's
sometimes
true.
the
You
merch.
don't gotta sell T-shirts if you're making six figures a night.
And sometimes the merch is shipped there by the management.
Oh,
company.
yeah, it's
Sometimes
all like a
they,
separate
They
thing.
take care of the merch
got it.
separately.
Oh,
So this is just about.
Sorry,
$100,000.
I'm a poor comic. I ain't gotta bring my own shit. That's why I have to check a bag
Yeah,
sometimes.
but you got good status, man. So.
Yeah. What about you? A status guy? I'm
Huge.
Yeah, you see, he's a fucking homeless. In the,
I am not.
he doesn't like status. I love
Have you ever
status.
done the thing at the end of
No,
the
I just
year
don't
where you're
pursue
like
it.
2 flights short and you just fly somewhere you don't have to fly to?
Sometimes, yeah, or like, yeah, because when you need to gain that status.
get to the
yeah,
next
yeah,
level.
Yeah,
See,
yeah.
thank fuck I don't do that.
I did it the last time I did it. I'm in the lounge and I was flying on a 30-minute flight, and I flew 30 minutes. I flew from Toronto to London, Ontario, and then just got same plane and just came right back. But I was in the lounge waiting for my flight and run into another comic, this guy Dave Hempstead, who's a big Canadian comic, and he was doing the same thing, but he needed 3 flights. So he was flying like in a triangle. He flew to Ottawa to Halifax to Toronto because he get 3 flights to get to the next level.
Oh,
But just
wow.
like we're both
Wow.
here doing the same dumb thing.
yeah.
How embarrassing to be seen.
Yeah.
But have you ever done that where you like
No,
you need an extra leg?
I think, I mean, no, I haven't done that where I go like, okay, I'm just going to just do that for it, like.
I'm obsessive about it.
Yeah, no, I mean, I like if there's a thing, I'm like maybe like I'll do as like a vacation or something, like use it,
Yeah.
but not, but no, I haven't done that, I haven't got it
yeah.
to that extreme. Of, like, but I do love the status, man, because it's like we as comedians we spend so much time traveling. It's like might as well make it like
It makes
as
a massive
comfortable.
difference.
Yeah, he doesn't care, but like I do, what I mean.
And the
Yeah, I don't
the
find it
higher
makes
status you
enough of a
get, the more likely it is you are to get bumped up to first class.
Yes.
So even at just like whatever your regular status is, the first thing is
Exactly.
always you don't wait at security.
Yes.
And then you get on the plane 1st. And then it's like your bag comes off first.
Exactly.
And then it's you
You
get
got the
upgraded all the
space to
time.
carry on.
I flew like 2 years where I flew first class every single flight
Nice.
because I was
Yeah,
flying
you
a lot at the
accumulate.
time.
Yeah, of course.
And then I wasn't flying as much, and you lose it, and you're like, oh, this is the
So are
one.
you a status with one, or you have
I
several?
always go just with the one.
With
and
one.
then I fly their partner airlines.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which was isn't?
So Air Canada, which is partnered with United.
Oh, so you're
So
United
I flew
guy.
United
Here.
today, and
Got it.
I chose it deliberately.
Of
'cause I was
course.
like, because I could have flown directly with American.
Yeah,
I was like,
but, yeah.
no,
Give me
I'm
United.
gonna take 2
yeah,
legs.
Yeah.
Phoenix, LA, Toronto.
You see, he's going
Did
Spirit.
you hear what he said?
He's going Spirit. Yeah.
No,
Fucking
I wouldn't
bus.
go spirit. Hey, just because I don't pursue status doesn't mean I fly shit.
Okay.
I just make the right decision that gives me what I need at the time.
It's one way to go. It's respectable.
Yeah,
and, we're going a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, buddy, you got anything else to ask him before we? Hit
I
our
mean,
last
well, we have
question?
more, but we have to go because
gotta-
we have another guest. And,
Yeah.
But also, he needs to go. He's actually got to go to the airport.
He's
it's
actually
more
got to
like
go
him.
to another country. So,
Yeah.
buddy, we always ask one final question of our guests. On
I'm
the
ready.
door.
Hot seat style.
It is.
Yeah.
Do you have any favorite piece of travel advice, maybe that you've been handed over the years, or that you like to give to people if they're
Favorite
off somewhere?
travel advice.
Yeah.
Here's a piece of travel advice which I just used, but I've used it before too. Is you can get a stomp over of 24 hours without changing the price of your ticket on any ticket.
Wait, what?
Like if you're flying somewhere and you have a layover, it's like a 3-hour layover, and you're like, well, I'd rather stay longer.
Yeah.
That option is not available online, but if you phone the airline, you can get a 24-hour layover always. Over
Really?
24
and, like,
hours.
Get the same flight, but the next day.
Yeah,
kind of thing.
and it's if it's over 24 hours, it has to be a separate ticket. But if it's 23 hours and 59 minutes, for instance, I flew once to India to fly to. We flew into Delhi, to New Delhi, and we stopped in Dubai. We're like, well, we want to see Dubai. We had like a 6-hour layover, and we're like, we just want the 24 hour. So I had to phone them, and they were like, I don't think you can do that. I go, you can do it, trust me. And then you can just they'll just do it for you, and it doesn't cost more.
Oh.
So then we get to go in the Burj Khalifa and check things out. It didn't cost any more money.
Yeah.
So you're saying I could have slept in your apartment with that crazy puppet?
Yeah.
That crazy puppet doll staring at me. I could have relaxed for another 20 hours.
You could have relaxed. You could have taken a noon flight. But nobody knows that because everyone buys their own tickets online now.
Of course, yeah.
And they just don't present that option.
But, like,
who would want
Right,
that?
yeah.
You could call, or you could also do it in the actual airport.
You have to call.
Oh, you have to call.
Yeah.
Okay. Got it.
So that's my little travel advice I
That's-
tell
I
people.
did
you
not
can build
know-
in a
I-
little vacation to things, you know?
Yeah.
I did not know about that at all.
Me neither. That's a good idea.
Oh, here's my other piece of travel advice.
Okay.
If you're sitting in economy, you can always buy the first class meal.
Really? I didn't know
I
that.
didn't know that either.
Just ask them. You go, how much? Do you have any meals left from up front? And they go, yeah, and it's like $16 or whatever. And so you can eat the meal they eat in first class.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Wow, this is
Right.
This is our.
That's really good, man.
I think these
That's,
are actually the best advices that we got in here, right? Like even Tony's like everybody gives like crappy advice. Not crappy, but
hey,
like
you can buy socks when you get there.
yeah.
And like Darrin Rose is going, you can get that first class meal. Like,
That's actually
better
pretty
than
good.
the
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the best thing actually. That's
I
the most
know.
actionable
But
advice.
like when you do that, don't some people around you look at you like, who the fuck is this?
Like, how'd you do that?
Yeah.
Because they up front there's always like steak, fish, and chicken, and like a vegetarian or pasta, and so they don't know who's going to order what.
Yeah. So there's
they have
always
to have-
leftover. Yeah, of course.
There's always leftovers, which they just have to throw out.
Yeah.
And so they'll just sell it to you.
wow.
It's
Yeah,
the
start
best.
doing that.
That's a great tip, man.
That's a great tip. I think that's I think that's the best tip, Hall of Fame tip. That's
Hall of Fame.
Hall of Fame. If we have a Hall of Fame of tips, we need to do like actually like a really like to do of tips.
Okay, yeah,
Put them
well-
together. But this.
Yeah, we'll get a leaderboard going.
But we gotta start
Yeah.
for this one. But
Yeah, man.
That'd be
that
great.
was great. And also quickly, where do the people can follow you and see you if you perform? If you want to.
Yeah, go
Look
ahead
at
and
the
say hi to
camera.
them right down the camera and tell them.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm doing a big tour in Canada, but it's going to be in the fall. I was doing it now, but COVID in Canada is still terrifying people, so we're moving the whole thing to the fall. So I'm in 15 cities in Canada, and I'm playing. I'm playing in Pennsylvania. I'm playing in Cape Cod. I'm playing in. Where else am I playing? I'm playing a few places in that.
And where do they
Is it
see?
DarrinRose.com?
Oh, you can go to DarrinRose.com. You can go to, you can follow me on Twitter is at Darrin Rose. Instagram is Mr. Darrin Rose. And I don't know.
No,
I don't know what the
I
other
mean,
things
that's
are.
awesome. That's pretty thorough.
Yeah, that's good.
Oh, you can phone me at 310-882.
Yeah, everybody look him up, and everybody in Canada, go see him when he's on tour.
Yes.
And you recognize Darrin.
And
You'll
you know
recognize
he'll
Darrin
be
from
wearing the
Martelli.
same shed because he only uses carry-on. He ain't changing this. He ain't changing his clothes for the fucking shows. Thank you, Darrin, for coming. We appreciate it,
Yeah,
especially
thanks for
this
having
quick
me.
layover.
Thanks for spending your layover with us.
This
Yeah.
was delightful.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Cheers, bro.
Bye, hello.